Hi guys, it's Miss Simon. I wanted to record this video today for grammar. So go ahead and get out your grammar notes. So today you're going to be taking a little bit of notes. We were talking about regular verbs. Today we're going to talk about irregular verbs. So you can just continue in those notes in your notebook. All right, so hope everybody's doing good. So on Monday, we looked at regular verbs, and if we were in class, I'd have you guys pull out your notes, and we would look up and remind each other what regular verbs are. Well, we know that regular verbs are verbs that you can simply just add ed or d at the end to form that past tense. Okay, so you add that ed or that d, and that forms the past tense of the verb, and that is grammatically correct. Or we also looked at on Monday where you might change that that y to an I and add ed or d. And that would also be an example of a regular verb. So for example, studied, we would change that y to an I and add ed to make studied. So all of those, when we're just adding that ed or that d or changing that y to an I and adding ed, those are all going to be regular verbs. But today we're going to talk about irregular verbs. And irregular verbs are verbs that we cannot just add that ed or that d to make the past tense. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and you should be able to write this down in your notes. Hold on one second. All right. So on your screen, you should see the slideshow of irregular verbs. So in your notes, go ahead and write down that irregular verbs are the past tense of an irregular verb that you cannot be formed by adding ed or d to form the past tense. Okay? And some irregular verbs you can form by changing the vowel. So irregular verbs, there's really no set rule to them. A lot of them you're just going to have to memorize the past tense of. So go ahead and write that down in your notes. The past tense of an irregular verb cannot be formed by adding ed or d. To form the past tense of some irregular, you form the past tense of some irregular verbs by changing the vowel. Move me down a little bit so you can get that all down. And then after you have that down, go ahead and copy this chart here in your notes as well, okay? Because these are just some examples of those irregular verbs. When we look at that ride, we don't make ride rided, okay? Ride becomes rode. So if we look at this one here, ride will become rode in the past tense. Same with am. I am going to the store. I was going to the store. We don't add am'd. Am'd is not a word, because so am becomes was. And then we also have words like eat. We don't say eated. We didn't eated dinner last night. Okay, we ate dinner last night. So eat will become ate in the past tense. And these are just three common examples. There are many, many more that I'm sure you guys can think of. Write, we don't say righted. Write becomes wrote. And we'll look at other examples as well. So make sure you guys have both that sentence that I highlighted and this chart here in your notes. If you're not done, you can pause the video, write that down, and then hit play again because we're going to move on to a few examples. So normally in class, I would just scroll this down and you would have the examples right there. But I'm going to go to another document so we can actually look at those verbs more closely. All right, so as you guys see, it says identify each underlined verb as regular or irregular. So remember that regular verb, we just added that ed or d or changed that y to an I and added ed or d. If it's irregular, we changed the whole makeup of the word to make that past tense. So to kind of help you guys with this, we should be trying to figure out, well, what is the present tense of that verb? And then kind of looking at how that verb changed. So for example, let's look at number 1. Jake took his history test today. So we're looking at this verb took, okay? So if we look at took here, we see obviously took is the past tense. Well, let's think in our minds. Took is the past tense of what? Verb. Take. So if it was a regular verb, I would just be added ed in it and I would say taked. But I don't say Jake taked his history test today. I said took. So we would say that this is going to be an irregular verb. Just like we do in class, I just kind of put that off to the side so you guys can see that. Let me make it a different color so it's kind of easier for you guys to see. There we go. All right. Now let's look at the next one. Okay. If I look, Joanne studied all weekend for the test. So again, let me think of the present tense of the word studied. Well, the present tense of the word studied would be study. And it looks like I just changed that Y to an I and added ED. So this would just be a regular verb. So off the side, I'm just going to write regular verb. Okay, and again, I'll make that a different color so we can kind of see the difference there. Okay. All right, let's look at number 3 and number 4 together, and then I'm going to have you guys look at the last 4 on your own. All right, so number 3, test wrote note cards. Well, we got to think, well, what is the present tense of wrote? The present tense of wrote is going to be write. So, and we don't say righted, so we didn't add just that ed or that d. So wrote is going to be an irregular verb. So off the side right there, I just put irregular verb. All right, let's look at 4. They knew the names of the Revolutionary War heroes. So again, we're looking at this verb, this past tense form of this knew. Well, we did think, what's the present tense of knew? We would say know. Okay, so they know the names of all the Revolutionary War heroes, right? So let's look at knew. We're not going to say knowed. They don't know the names. Okay, so know is going to be changed to knew, which would make knew an irregular. So off to the side, I would write irregular. Okay. All right, so I want you guys to look at 5, 6, 7, and 8 independently, and then we'll go over them together. Remember, I want you to be thinking of, well, what's the present tense of the verb, and am I just adding ed or d to it, or am I changing the whole makeup of the verb itself? I'll give you a minute to kind of do 5, 6, 7, and 8. Just telling me if it's a regular or an irregular verb. Okay, so you should be done. Those are pretty simple. So number 5, we're looking at that verb thanked. Okay, so if we look at thanked, well, we got to think, what's the present tense of thanked? It would be just thank. Okay, so Jake thanked Tess for her help. She thanked, so we just added that ed or that d, so that would be a regular verb for number 5. Then if I look at number 6, Jason forgot how to spell the general's name. Okay, so that regular verb form of forgot would be forget. We don't say forgetted. We don't say Jason forgetted how to spell his name. We would say forgot. So we changed the whole makeup of that verb. So that one would be irregular. All right, number 7, Matt remembered. Okay, my present tense form of remembered would be remember. Looks like for that one, we just added that ed or that d, so that would be a regular. And then finally, the last one, we look at Haley's hard work paid off. Again, let's looking at that verb paid. Well, we got to think that present tense would be pay. Just looks like we changed that Y to an I and added D. So paid would also be a regular verb. Okay, and like we said, a lot of these guys, like, you know that we don't just add ed to all these verbs, but these are ones that there's no real trick to them. You just kind of have to know them, and you kind of have to memorize them. So I'm going to go back to the, I want to go back to the other screen so we can continue the lesson and do a couple more examples, and then I'll have some on a Google form that you guys will fill out. Let me go back to this one. Okay, so this is what we just talked about, but there is more irregular verbs, right? So the past tense forms of irregular verbs, an irregular verb does not add ed to its present tense. We just went over that. So the past tense of irregular verb is formed in different ways. You can use a dictionary to find the past tense of an irregular verb. Again, we're just memorizing them. There's no real rule to it. Okay, so I'm showing you guys this screen because I want you guys to go ahead and copy these present and past tense verbs in your notes, because these are 3 more common verbs that you're going to see in past tense. Okay, so go ahead and copy all of this down, both the present and the past. Okay, we look at the first one. We have begin. We don't make beginned. Okay, that's not a thing. All right, we beginned it together. No, we began it. So begin will become began in the past tense. Okay, then we can look at catch. We don't say I catched it. Okay, I caught it. So catch becomes caught. And another common one is going to be throw. We don't say I throwed it. Okay, we say I threw it. So throw is going to become threw. Okay. So just make sure you have those ones down in your notes, and then I'm going to go back to the other screen and we're going to do a few more examples before you guys do some independence. Back to the other screen. Right, continuing right along. Let me move me. Okay. All right, so for these ones, we're just writing the past form of the irregular verb in parentheses. So these ones, we're going to take that verb that's in parentheses and turn it into past tense. Okay, again, these are all going to be irregular, so none of them you're going to be adding ed or d. Okay, so let's look at number 1. Our class write letters to students in Mexico. Well, write's my present tense. I need to change write to past tense. I got to think, well, what is the past tense of write? Past tense would be wrote, so we would write wrote off to the side, just like we do in class. Number 2, we teach them some facts about the Revolutionary War. Our verb is teach. We don't say teach it, teached it. Okay, that's not a thing. Okay, we would say taught. So we taught them some facts about the Revolutionary War. Number 3, the students send our class a book about Mexican history. We need to change send to the past tense. We don't say sended. The students did not sended our class a book. Okay, send would become, we know the past tense of send would be sent. Okay, 4 we're going to do together, and then I want you to do 5, 6, and 7 on your own. Okay, we buy a book about the 13 colonies for them. We don't say buyed. We don't say we buyed a book. Right, so buy is going to become bought in the past tense. Go ahead and take a second, do 5, 6, and 7 on your own. I'll give you about a minute to do that, and then we'll go over it. All right, so for 5, our verb is think. We don't say thinked. Okay, we thinked about the Mexican War for Independence. No, think is going to become a thought. We thought about the Mexican War for Independence. Okay, if we look at 6, Mexico win its independence from Spain in 1821. We don't say win. We didn't win something. We won. So Mexico won its independence from Spain in 1821. And finally, 7, we see a movie about Mexican Independence Day. Okay, we don't say seed. We seed a movie. Okay, we saw a movie about Mexican Independence Day. So see is going to become saw. Hopefully you guys, that was pretty simple. You guys got those right. So what you guys are going to do now is I'm going to create a Google form that you're going to do about 5 examples kind of on your own, and you can fill those in. I know a couple of you for the last one, it counted it wrong because you rewrote the sentence. Okay, so make sure you're reading the directions. If it tells you to rewrite the sentence, rewrite the sentence. If it doesn't tell you to, you just can write the word. All right, so hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you guys soon.